Yeah,
one of those blade servers that you saw, I showed you the video the other day, right? On
yes,
how a data center looks like, what is a rack, and how
yeah,
servers are
yes,
actually stacked on the rack, right? So it sits
yes, sir.
one of those servers in that huge data center when you provision an EC2 instance, and it will have a interface through which you can communicate with that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All
Yes.
right. Thank you. So A10, you're saying something.
Yes, sir. I was about to say this only. It is just equal to we creating a virtual machine in Microsoft Azure. So just like how you create a VM over there,
Mm-hmm.
it is equivalent to that. EC2.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. So anyone from the Z series would like to take a shot at it? What is an EC2?
Yes, sir. This is Z048.
Yeah.
So yeah, as the FAQs tell that it is used by the web servers, so that we don't know the web the host doesn't know at what time the server will be bombarded with many many links. So it
Mm-hmm.
provides, or it helps the host to know how elastically it can increase or decrease the scale, in the sense the number of microservices, or the how to replicate those microservices. It will help in that. So the host or the person who is hosting the site can pay according to
Mm-hmm.
how much it is getting used, rather than buying it upfront, the whole server or the rack.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So this
Nice.
additional part of what was told here.
Okay. Right. Okay. One small correction there. It is not just for web servers. It can be used for anything else. Any compute requirements.
Yeah, since yeah, yes, since it is
Not just for web
virtual machine
servers.
we are hosting, yeah, any services which can
Yeah.
be yes,
Right.
yes.
Correct. Correct. Any services can be used. Okay. Anyone else would like to take a shot?
And yes, it run on a
Hello,
hypervisor
sir.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Z061.
Yeah. Please tell me.
ఇప్పుడు ఎలాస్టిక్ క్లౌడ్ కంప్యూట్ అంటే EC2 అంటే ఎలాస్టిక్ కంప్యూట్ క్లౌడ్.
Mm-hmm.
సో ఇది ఏమంటే మన బేసిక్ కంప్యూటర్ లాగానే, మనం వాడే కంప్యూటర్ లాగానే, కాకపోతే మనకు ఇప్పుడు లార్జ్ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ అప్లికేషన్ రన్ చేయాలన్నా, మనం క్రియేట్ చేయాలన్నా, సో దానికి సాఫ్ట్వేర్ అనేది, హార్డ్వేర్ అనేది చాలా అవసరం పడుతుంది. సపోజ్ నెట్ఫ్లిక్స్ చూసుకున్నట్లయితే దానికి డేటాబేస్ అనేది చాలా కావాలి.
Mm-hmm.
సో ర్యామ్ అవన్నీ చాలా కావాల్సి వస్తాయి. మనకు అమెజాన్ EC2 వాళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తారంటే, ఇప్పుడు మనం దాన్ని పెట్టుకోవాలన్నా స్పేస్ కూడా కావాలి ఎక్కడన్నా. సో EC2 వాళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తారంటే, మనకు ఇదంతా మనం వాడేదానికి కాస్ట్ వేస్తారన్నట్టు. మనం క్లౌడ్లో వాడుకోవచ్చు దాన్ని. సో ఆ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ హార్డ్వేర్ని EC2 ద్వారా మేనేజ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. సో మనం ఎంత వాడితే వాళ్ళంతా చార్జ్ చేస్తారు. సో ద
అది
బేసిక్
ఎట్లాంటి సాఫ్ట్వేర్? అది ఎట్లాంటి సాఫ్ట్వేర్?
అంటే మనం వాడే దాన్ని బట్టి ఉంటుంది సార్. వెబ్
ఆపరేటింగ్
సర్వీసెస్
సిస్టమ్.
వాళ్ళు
అది
అంటే
ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్.
బేసిక్ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమే సార్. మనం ఇప్పుడు యూజ్ చేసే ల్యాప్టాప్ లాగానే, కాకపోతే మనకు ఎక్కువ అవసరం పడితే ఈ EC2 సర్వీస్ అనేది యూజ్ అవుతుంది.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anyone else would like to take a shot? Okay, I told you about the three models of cloud computing. What are those models? Can anyone take a shot at it?
Platform infrastructure service.
IaaS, sir.
IaaS,
Oh, okay.
and SaaS.
Yeah, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Okay, so where does EC2 play a role?
IaaS.
Infrastructure as a
Excellent.
Infrastructure as a service.
As a service.
Excellent. Okay, infrastructure as a service. Okay, infrastructure
Yeah,
as a
sir.
service is what gives compute, storage, and network. Okay, to end users. And on top of it, you can run anything. You can run Linux. You can run Windows, or you can run any operating system on top of it. You can bring your own operating system also. if you're building your own operating system, and if you have an image of that operating system, you can also bring your own operating system on top of it. That is called infrastructure. So there only the infrastructure. Like, let's take for example highways, right? Highways are there, and okay, elevated expressway is there to go to airport, correct? 13, 14 kilometers. Somebody has built it. Somebody has built the infrastructure. So now any vehicle can pass through that, right? I mean, any workload. I mean, it can be a car. I mean, it can be a slightly bigger car, an SUV, or it can be a bus, or it can be a Volvo bus, right? I mean, any kind of four-wheeler can actually pass through that, correct? Not two-wheeler and three-wheeler. They don't allow two-wheeler and three-wheelers. Okay, but any type of four-wheeler and car and above can pass through that, correct? So that's the whole idea. So infra is provided as a service, and there are some restrictions, right? Certain workloads can run on top of it. So now based on that, you use that and deliver your services. Okay, okay, let's get into the subject now. Just going to share my screen. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so what is introduction to Amazon EC2? Okay, EC2 is called Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay, so what Elastic Compute Cloud offers is virtual machines. Okay, it provides virtual machines on the cloud where you see those huge racks. Within those racks, you have several servers, and within those servers, you would have the virtual machines running. Okay, and then and then which is connected to the network. You'll get a complete global network. It'll be connected to the network because what is one of the characteristics of cloud computing? Global network access is one characteristic of cloud computing, right? Global network access, which means that broad network access. Sorry, I'll correct myself. It's not global network access. It's called broad network access, which means it is available at a broad level so that you can access it from anywhere. Provided you open access to that, you allow access to that, you can access it from anywhere. Then comes user experience, right? I mean, you don't have to really struggle to provision a EC2 instance. It's called EC2 instance, okay? An instance of that virtual machine is called an EC2 instance. So just know these terminologies so that you'll be able to use them, right? And when I use these terminologies, you don't get confused. It's called EC2 instance. Okay, and user experience. In what way it gives the user experience? It gives user experience so that it is very easy to interact with the EC2 service. You just get a console, you get a CLI, you get APIs to interact with to the service, and then you can automate it, and you get a better user experience. Provisioning. Again, provisioning is a term used to create something. To create a resource, anything is a resource, right? And a computer is a resource, a storage is a resource, a network is a resource, right? So in cloud terminologies, when we use provisioning, which means that you are creating something. Okay, so that's where you get a better user experience. And what is the last one in this slide? The last one in this slide is purchase options. Okay, so now let me equate it to the day-to-day purchase that we make, or probably not day-to-day, maybe monthly purchases or quarterly purchases that we make, right? I'm visiting a garment or a cloth store, okay, or an apparel shop. I want a t-shirt to be bought, okay, or a shirt to be bought. What is the first thing I will look at if I want to buy a t-shirt?
Price.
Exactly, size. You will first look at size. What is the size of the t-shirt that would fit me better, right? So that I don't look odd. So I mean, if I need a large, I'll just go for a large. If I need a XL, I'll go for an XL. If I need a medium, I'll go for medium. If I need double XL, I'll go for double XL, right? Now these are standard sizes. These are standard sizes that are defined based on based on various standards, correct? And so based on that, I mean, it's a very commonly used convention that a small, medium, large, extra large, double XL, and things like that, correct? So similarly, even in cloud, there is a standard um, convention which is used, okay, where what cloud providers have done is they have defined sizes of compute as small, medium, micro, large, extra large, and things like that. 2x large, 4x large, 8x large, 16x large, something like that, right? So it's a very wide range of sizes that you get, and you can pick and choose whichever size that you want. You go provision that instance, okay, and then you provision that instance, and each one has got a price tag associated with it. Like how if you buy a small t-shirt, price will be, say, let's take 300 rupees. Maybe a extra large would cost maybe 400 rupees or 450 rupees, correct? Because it has additional cloth and it has additional labor to stitch it, and obviously as the volume of this thing increases, the cost also increases, right? So similarly here also, if you see, there is a price tag associated with each EC2 instance that is available. Okay, so now what is an EC2 instance? They are elastic virtual servers in the cloud. You have the host server, right? So now the other day I showed you the video of data center where you have the big rack. We have the big facility. Each facility has got thousands of racks. Each rack has got tens of tens of servers, which is called host servers. Okay, they are called host, right? For example, I'm actually hosting a party for all of you sometime. Okay, I become the host, and all of you are my guests, correct? The same thing applies in world of computing and virtual computing as well. So where the host server, which is there, that's the physical server. Physically, it's present at the rack. But on top of the host server, there is a special software that runs, which is called hypervisor. Okay, in every host server, you will have that hypervisor running. Okay, so now on top of the hypervisor, all the guest servers would be running, right? For example, one host server, let's take, can probably run about 15 to 20 of guest servers, guest virtual machines. They're called virtual machines. The guest that you see here, they are called virtual servers. They're not physical servers. Physical server is this, but on top of the physical server, the guest servers run. So how then you may wonder, how is the CPU, memory, and storage in the host server gets distributed to the guest servers, correct? That is the job of hypervisor. So the guy hypervisor takes care of uh, distributing the resources and ensuring that there is a clear segregation between guest 1 and guest 2. Okay, guest 2 won't be able to talk to guest 1, and guest 1 won't be able to talk to guest 2. There is a very clear logical segregation between what communication can happen between guests. No communication can happen between guests. Okay, I mean at a host server layer, but yeah, I mean at a network layer, if you want guest 1 to be connected to guest 2, it is possible, but that's pure network connectivity. Okay, but at a hypervisor layer, hypervisor ensures that on top of the host servers, there can be multiple guest virtual servers can be provisioned, and each virtual guest server is isolated with each other. And a lot of you have done it, right? I mean, on your local desktops or laptops, you installed a software called Oracle VirtualBox or VMware. I forgot that name. So the VMware, and then you started running Ubuntu or CentOS or Red Hat Linux on top of your Windows, correct? So in this case, Windows is basically an underlying host server. On top of it, you have installed a hypervisor, which is called the Oracle VirtualBox or the VMware, and on top of VMware runs your Ubuntu or whatever it is, right? But in this case, the hypervisor that Amazon uses is a very lightweight hypervisor. It is not heavyweight because uh, it runs directly on top of the host server because it can't take too much of capacity from the host servers to run the hypervisor. That the whole purpose will be defeated. It's a very lightweight. It ensures that it only orchestrates and it only manages the virtual machines on top of it. Okay, and there are multiple different hypervisors that Amazon uses. Uh, One of Amazon's AWS's own hypervisor is called Nitro. Okay, it's called that entire stack is called Nitro stack. So don't worry, I'll explain all of that later. But for now, understand that there is a physical server. You saw the video last week of data center having several buildings, each building having several floors, each floor having several racks, each rack having several servers, okay, for several physical servers, and each physical server having several virtual machines. So virtual machine is the ultimate lowest unit in this entire thing. Okay, now imagine the scale. Okay. So then you have elastic virtual servers in the call. These are nothing but now in this case, when I on top of the hypervisor, you don't have to worry about the hypervisor layer. Amazon takes care of it, and Amazon gives you an interface through which you can interact and provision those virtual machines. So you can provision as many virtual machines as you want. Okay, and they are elastic server capacity. I mean, you can provision as many as you want, and you can deprovision as many as you want.
Sir, what is the
Okay.
difference between server and database?
See, database is an application which stores data, but server is the one which hosts that database. Server is an operating system
Okay,
which
sir.
has got some compute associated with it.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So then you have elastic server capacity where you can provision 10 servers and you can stop them or you can terminate them as per your choice. You can choose the instance that you want, right, based on the CPU memory and storage, right? CPU and memory, as I said, has got a t-shirt sizes, and AWS also. AWS has got t-shirt sizes, small, medium, large, extra large, and things like that. And you can add as much storage as you want to the virtual machine or the EC2 server. Sorry, A48, you have to go on mute, please. Yeah, and then you have various deployment options that you can do. And then there is something called images. Okay, now image is nothing but when those who have done the VirtualBox or VMware desktop, right? I mean, you know that when VirtualBox comes up, you also have to download an image along with VirtualBox so that that image runs within that VirtualBox. That image is nothing but the image of the Ubuntu or CentOS or Windows or any operating system, right? We spoke about operating system 2 weeks back. If you can remember what an operating system, Linux, Windows, so these are common operating systems, Unix, correct? So now you take an image of that entire operating system, and those images are called Amazon machine images. You have to know this terminology. The operating system, which is either a Windows or Linux, right? I mean, be it Ubuntu, Red Hat Linux, or CentOS, or Amazon Linux, that is the operating system. So there is something called, it's called Amazon machine image, where Amazon has created the image for you and you can make use of that image. And on top of it, you can run your applications or databases. So you see where the database or application is coming. Okay, it's coming only at the end. Initially, it's all about the hardware hypervisor and all that. But finally, you get the database or applications, because database is also an application at the end of the day. Okay, in fact, this is a slightly dated slide. I mean, it is not 8 years ago. In fact, EC2, the first EC2 came up in 2007, more than about 13 years ago. Okay. I mean, initially, if you see, it initially came up with only a single instance family and size and things like that, with only one CPU, 1.7 GB RAM, and all that. But now EC2 is the sophisticated service, my friends. Okay, EC2 is the backbone of entire AWS. Okay, everything runs on EC2. So EC2 is the backbone, and about majority of your workloads would actually go on EC2 only, and it's on-demand pricing. Okay, I'll skip all of this. I'll skip all of this. Yeah, see, every day Amazon Web Services adds enough new server capacity support all of Amazon's global infrastructure when it was a $7 billion enterprise. But now you all know Amazon's net worth, right? Let's skip some of these. Okay, so now you need to understand this aspect also. So now when we provision EC2 instances, you will come across this notation. You should understand what this notation means. Okay, so now you will see something. First, a letter will be there, then you will get a number, then dot, then you will get a large, medium, small, micro, extra large, 2x large, 3x large, and things like that. Okay, so now let's come from the right side, right to left. Okay, uh, right side you get large, extra large. That is understandable, right? All of you understand this. That is the instance size. Then let's come to the dot before the dot. Okay, so now 4, you see 4, and you will see 5. Sometimes you will see 6. Sometimes you will see n here. This is nothing but the generation of instances. Okay, like is it 4th generation or 5th generation? Like you have 3G, 4G, 5G, right, on your mobile devices, on your mobile telecom communication, right? 3G, and then 4G came. Now 5G is there. Okay, so similarly here also there are innovations happening on a daily basis in AWS, right? So that way they keep amending the instance generation, and then they keep upgrading the instance generation to 4 or 5 and 6 like that. And this first alphabet that you see is the instance family. Okay, so that's called the instance family. So you have multiple different instance families, from ranging from C series, M series, R series, T series. Okay, don't get too much worried about that. You don't have to understand all of that right now, but just for your own understanding. Okay, just for your own initial understanding, you can just learn this. I mean, nobody is going to ask you at this stage, tell me what a C5.2x large does and what is the bandwidth that C5.2x large has, what is the CPU and memory that C5.2x large has. Don't worry about that. Okay, in fact, there is a catalog available for that. You can go through that catalog. But imagine this as the notation, and whenever you come across provisioning a EC2 instance, you will come across this notation. You will see a size after the dot. Before the dot, you will see a number, which is instance generation, and you will see an instance family. This will be the standard notation. Okay, and EC2 supports uh, different types of microprocessors. Okay, it can be a Intel microprocessor or it can be AMD. And these days, Amazon has come up with even ARM processors, right? I mean, EC2 instances which can support ARM processors also because AMD is slightly cheaper than Intel processors. So if you are worried about cost, you can just go for AMD processors. And ARM is even more cheaper than AMD. You don't have to worry about all. I'm just giving you as a tidbits so that you are understanding it. That's it. And networking, right? I mean, you have your EC2 instance sitting on one of the physical servers in the rack, correct? So now the other day in that video, the person took us to the backside of the rack and he showed us how the network is connected to the Ethernet through cables, through those yellow cables that are connected, correct? So now that is networking. That gives you the networking backbone to the EC2 instances. Okay, so now it can be up to 10 GB networking that you can get a. Okay, so now let me ask you, how many of you observed the LAN interface that you have in your desktops or laptops, right? Where you plug the LAN cord. Okay, the yellow cable that you plug in, right? What is the capacity of that? How much data it can transfer? What is the capacity? Can somebody tell me if you have observed it?
2.5 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz.
No, I'm not talking about wireless LAN. I'm not talking about wireless. I'm talking about the physical RJ45 where you plug in, right? Where you plug the cable. Are you talking about the cable where you plug in or wireless?
Wireless also, and
No, I'm not talking about wireless. Forget about wireless for a moment. We live in a non-wireless world. Okay.
It's 100 Mbps.
1 GB, 1000 Mbps.
Okay, somebody said 1 Gbps. So 1 Gbps is correct. Okay, so usually that that connector that it provides, right, where you plug in the cable, the LAN cable, that is usually 1 Gbps, and sometimes it can go up to 10 Gbps also, but usually it's 1 Gbps. Okay, so now in this case, if you see, AWS has got all 10 Gbps networking, so that all the physical servers that you see in the when you go behind the rack, they're all connected to a 10 Gbps port on the switch. Okay, so that way you get enough capacity to transfer your data. You don't feel that your network, because of the scale, is clogging your bandwidth. That is not the case. Okay, so just remember that portion alone. Enhanced networking and all, skip it for now. I don't even want to introduce that and confuse you. Okay. Okay, then comes, okay, so now you have your laptop or desktop, correct? You have your LAN cable and you're plugging in the LAN cable. Plus you have a CPU and memory. You also need hard disk, right? So similarly, EC2 instance also needs a hard disk. Okay, where you can store the data, where you can, the files of the operating system are actually stored and loaded in the memory, correct? So now that hard disk is called EBS. Okay, EBS stands for Elastic Block Storage. EC2 means Elastic Compute Cloud. EBS means Elastic Block Storage. Okay, so now that is again another service from AWS, where when you provision an EC2 instance, you have a chance to attach a EBS volume to that EC2 instance. That EBS volume is nothing but it is a hard disk that you're attaching. Like in a physical computer, before you install before you start the computer, you need a hard disk to the computer, right? Without that, computer will not start. I mean, it will start, it will throw an error saying that no boot device found. I don't know how many of you have checked. You can disconnect your hard drive, boot up your computer. It will say, it will come up, the BIOS prompt will come up, and then it will say that no boot device found, which means that it doesn't have any device to boot the computer from. Okay, but so in this case also, you have decided your CPU and memory on EC2. So now to the EC2 instance, you have to put a hard disk into it. But here in this case, nobody is going to, when you provision an EC2 instance, nobody is going to say that, okay, so and so, okay, Prasanna has provisioned the EC2 instance. So now I'll go to the data center. I will go to that particular rack. I'll open the rack, I'll put a hard disk so that Prasanna can start storing the data. No, it is all automated behind the scenes. Okay, so now everything is virtualized. Okay, similar to what you have, what you saw the storage, what you saw the racks and the servers that you saw on the rack. Similarly, storage also is created on the fly. There are storage attached to each rack. Okay, and then the moment you provision an EC2 instance with say 30 GB or 100 GB storage, it allocates 100 GB storage from the storage associated in the allocated to the rack, and then it attaches it to my virtual machine, which is my EC2 instance. Everything is done automated. So that way you get a CPU, you get a memory, and you get a hard disk also. Okay, and then you get a hard disk where you can store all your files, and operating system files are actually stored loaded from there, and that will also act as a boot device. And there are multiple different types of volumes there. Okay, like something called general purpose, magnetic, and things like that. Don't worry about it, we'll look at it later. Okay, 2 days or last week I told you about SSD. How many of you looked at what an SSD is?
Solid state drive,
Solid
sir.
state drive. Yeah, so what is SSD? What does it do?
Hard disk, sir. It's different from hard disk. General hard disk has a magnetic. The read-write operation is different in SSD, sir. It's so
Very good.
fast.
Very good. Excellent. Because it
For
doesn't
OS
use the
purpose,
magnetic.
SSD
for
is
OS
faster
purpose, we'll use
than
SSD, sir.
Yeah, how many of you have SSD drives?
Yeah, I have, sir.
In your
It's
laptop or desktop?
in my desktop. It's 256 GB SSD.
256 GB. Excellent. Very nice. So you see the difference between normal hard drive, which is magnetic, and SSD, correct?
Yeah, yes, sir.
It's very fast.
Yeah,
In
actually, I
fact,
load my OS in SS. Remaining files are,
in the hard disk.
stored in the
The hard
hard
disk.
disk. Yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
Very good. Yes. In fact, I did the same thing.
Yeah, my laptop was 256 GB SSD and 1 TB hard disk.
Hard disk. Yes. Excellent. Okay. So now I also did the same thing. Last month, 2 months back, I bought a desktop. Okay, that desktop came with a hard drive, magnetic hard drive only. I didn't like that, so I bought a SSD from Amazon. I just installed that SSD into the iSCSI port. Okay, and then I loaded my operating system on SSD. I can see that the speed of the operating system, speed of my computer increased maybe 4 times, 5 times how it used to be. Okay, that is the difference between SSD and magnetic volume. So even in EBS, you can also provision magnetic volumes. When you provision magnetic volumes, the data will be stored in the conventional magnetic drives. But if you go for SSD, it will be stored in the SSD flash array. It's called a flash array, so it will get stored there. I'll skip all of this. Okay, why customers use EC2, right? Because EC2 is easy to scale. It saves a lot of time, money. We don't need bigger data centers. We don't need to get more operations people. Exactly, right? When our business was growing really fast, using AWS allowed us to scale and optimize our algorithms and get rid of extra capacity. AWS saves time, money. We don't need a bigger data center. We don't need to get more operations people on board. We don't need to acquire more machines just because you have to scale it. And yeah, and so many people have given good benefits of EC2, but some of them are elasticity. They're completely controlled. Flexibility, breadth of functionality, reliability, security, cost effectiveness, scalability. And if you see, this is one, take a 24-hour window. You can actually keep it running for only like 10 hours. Rest of the time, you can shut it down and you won't be charged. You will be charged only for 10 hours, not more than that. Okay, so that's okay. Let's not get too deep into this. Okay, so now this is what I wanted to introduce you to. I'll just check if there is anything else interesting in this. Which, okay. Otherwise, we'll do our lab. Yeah, so you can provision a Windows instance or you can provision a Linux instance. Okay. Yeah, and it is secure, highly secure. These are all the certifications that AWS has from a security compliance standpoint. Okay, VPC, I'll come to VPC a little later. I don't want to overload you guys with so many concepts in a day. Okay, so now I have logged into my account. Okay, so this is my account. I've logged into my account. Okay, so when I log into my account, you will see this. All of us did this yesterday, correct? We created an account, and so here, if you see in services, if you click on services, you will see all the services here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select under compute. Remember, we are talking about compute now. Okay, compute. Here you will select EC2. Just select EC2. It will take you to the EC2 dashboard. Okay, this is the EC2 dashboard, and it will tell me a quick summary of what all resources I have. Running instances is 0. I don't have anything running. Elastic IPs is 0. Dedicated host. Don't get too much worried about these terminologies. We'll come to that. Volumes are 0. Volumes is nothing but your storage volume, underlying storage volume, correct? Like hard disk. It can either be a SSD or it can be a magnetic. Key pairs is 0. Placement groups is 0. Snapshots is 0. Load balancers is 0. Security groups, there is one default security group which is there. Don't worry, I'll explain all of this. Okay, so now what we can do is just click on this running instances. It will actually give another, it will take me to another view. Right now there's nothing running here, right? I have empty, I have a clean account. Nothing is running in my AWS account. So now what I can do is I can provision a new EC2 instance. It's called EC2 instance. Okay, instances. You should use this word terminology, instance. I can launch a new EC2 instance just by going through this wizard, but I'm not going to do that right now. Hang on, I'll have to explain a few more things here. So on the left side again you have a menu. So this is the standard user interface of AWS. Any service you take, you will get this kind of an user interface. You will see the resources here. You will see the details of selected resource in the below pane. And on the left hand side menu, you will have more options to navigate through. Okay. So now if you see, uh, this is instance. So you get a tree view, nice tree view. And this is the instance. And I told about AMIs, right? This is where you can see the AMI. What does AMI stand for? Amazon Machine Image. That's the image. That's the image on which, using which your EC2 instance would actually run up. So it will just take a copy of that image, put it here, and then it will run. It's not going to modify the original image. It will take a copy of the image, put it in the new EC2 instance that you provision, and then it will run. Like how you did in your Oracle VirtualBox or VMware. And then you can see all owned by me. You can create your own images, or you can go for public images also. If you see, these are all the public images that are there. Anybody can use these images. Like, yeah, there are, oh my God, 131,000. Okay, 131,000 images are there total across the world, right? Sorry, only in North Virginia region. Okay, so one more thing to note here is when I first launched my console, here I have to select a region where I'm operating out of. Imagine, what is a region? Can somebody tell me what is a region? In Amazon terminologies?
Geographical areas.
There are availability zones will be there. In availability zones, different data.
Yeah.
Region is nothing but a geographical area, sir. In that we will have
Yes,
some availability zones.
correct. Region is a geographical area, right? So now in this case, North Virginia is a place in US East 1. That is the idea of this region. North Virginia, Ohio, Northern California, Oregon. Okay, these are all regions in the US. Similarly, in Africa, there is one Cape Town, which is the region. In Asia Pacific, which is our region, there is Hong Kong, Mumbai. Mumbai is our country. Osaka, Seoul, Singapore, Sydney, Tokyo. Then you have Canada. Europe, you have Frankfurt, Ireland, London, Milan, Paris, Stockholm. And Middle East, you have Bahrain. And South America, you have Sao Paulo. Right? So these are all the regions that AWS operates today out of. Right? It covers pretty much the entire globe: Europe, Asia Pacific, Africa, Europe, Canada, and Australia as well. So you have to select a region where you're operating out of. Say, for example, I'm right now in Northern Virginia region. I want to go to Mumbai region. I just click on Mumbai region. It will reload the page and it will show the region as Mumbai. So now if you go to EC2 instance, and then if you want to launch a new instance, you can just click on launch instance and it will provision a new EC2 instance in the Mumbai region. Okay, let us use Mumbai only so that it is near, it is close by. Okay, it does not use any other region. It's quite far and latency will be slightly higher, because if you provision a EC2 instance in US, the network connectivity will be far, right? I mean, it will have multiple hops. It will be slightly slower than compared to Mumbai. Mumbai is closer, so let us use Mumbai. Okay, that is one. And also you'll see few more drop downs on the top for support, documentation, and then you will also have your user. Okay, I've just created a user called RPL admin. It'll tell you what is the account number, what is the organization, and other few other things, my billing dashboard and things like that. It'll show all of that. Okay, and okay, so, and also on the left side, let's go further. Okay, this is the instance where EC2 instance. All these options belong to that. Then images where AMIs, where you can create AMIs and you can use the existing AMIs. Then comes the hard disk part of it. Okay, hard disk where elastic block store, right? It's a storage. Volumes are there. Right? You can create volumes. Like in this case, if I just create a volume, I can give how much of GB data that I want to attach to the volume, or I want to attach to my EC2 instance, or what type of volume type I want. I want a SSD or a magnetic, which is magnetic is nothing but your normal magnetic drive. SSD is the SSD drive. I'll cancel it. Don't worry too much about the options. You will learn that later. Then you get snapshots, lifecycle manager. Don't worry about it. So then comes the networking and security, right? So now I bought a new laptop or a desktop at home. Okay. So now I installed my laptop or desktop. But if I don't connect it to internet, is it of any use? Will you be able to use it if you don't connect it to internet, or if you don't connect it to the network? You won't be able to use it, right? So that's where you need a network adapter, and you need the tello cable to be plugged into the behind of the desktop, or you need to at least connect it to a Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is nothing but a network, correct? At the end of the day, it connects to the world through internet, correct? So similarly, here also in EC2 instance also, if you provision an EC2 instance, it has to be connected to the network so that it can communicate with the other servers, other components, and then it can also uh, it can also be connected, be available on the internet. So that's where you use these settings to ensure that your connectivity to the EC2 servers are maintained through this networking and security. Load balancer and auto scaling, for now ignore it. Now this is the overall user interface of how EC2 looks like. Okay, any service in AWS looks like this pretty much. You'll see the same pattern. You'll have a actual details where the resources will be here, present here. You will have some actions to be provisioned, performed here, and you will have details here. When you select a resource, it will show the details of the resource here, and you will see a navigation pane on the left side. Okay, so now let us launch a new instance. Let's provision our first EC2 instance. Okay, but let's remember one thing very clearly. Okay, I'll give you one more example, right? You're buying a new computer or a laptop. Okay, you've placed an order in Amazon. Amazon has delivered it at your home. You unbox it. Uh, you open the laptop, and then you start setting up the laptop, right? So when you start setting up the laptop, what will it ask the first time?
Administrator name.
Excellent.
Gmail account information.
Okay, somebody said administrator name. Yeah, administrator name, and then
Install OS.
no, OS is already part of it.
Password.
Password, yes, exactly, a spot on. It will ask for credentials. That is called credentials. You have to set the credentials first. You have to set the password for the laptop or desktop so that you can re-log in using that same username and password. Okay, it is going to ask for create the credentials. So in this case also, when you provision an EC2 instance, you will have to follow certain steps to get the credentials to log into the EC2 instance. So now, since it is cloud is a lot more secure, correct? So the way you deal with the credentials is slightly different. It is not a plain username password. It is a key. Okay, you need a key to log into that EC2 instance. Okay, the key is secure key, right? And that is an encrypted key. Okay, again, sometime I'll explain you. You know what is a private key, public key. I don't know how many of you know what a private key, public key is. Can somebody explain? Who knows what a private key and public key is?
Sir, private key is a first public key is a key which is available with everyone and everyone can have access to that. It is kind of a security given. And private key is present within the members, and using that private key, anybody can decrypt the data which is encrypted using the public key.
Excellent, very good. So, so now in the case of EC2, what we need is we need to create a key and use that key to launch my EC2 instance, right? And that is called key pair. Okay, so it's a pair, private key, public key. It's a pair, right? It always goes hand in hand. Okay, so now you have to create a new key pair and use that key pair to provision your EC2 instance, right? So now I'm not going to go individually, right? I mean, say first you choose the AMI and see if that AMI is there or not. Then volume, create a new volume, then create a key pair, then create a security group. I'm not going to do all of that. So there is a way to, what Amazon has done is they have made it quite simple. There is a wizard that you get. Next, finish. Then you are done. I'm going to open that wizard and create the very first EC2 instance. Okay, remember, follow this very carefully and ensure that you do the same thing today during your lab session or breakout session. Right now, you don't do it. Don't do it right now. All of you, I want all of you to pay attention only on the screen that I'm sharing. Okay, please don't do it by yourself right now. Follow the instructions that I'm giving you, and then you can emulate this during the breakout session. Okay, and then follow that, and unless and until you follow me start to the end, you will not know the end-to-end steps, and you may tend to miss some step. At the end of the day, if you miss some step, either it may add additional charge to your credit card or debit card, or you will not be able to perform this activity properly. You won't be able to learn properly. So I want all of you to stop doing anything on your own. Just look at what I'm trying to do and absorb all the steps that I'm giving you. That's enough. Am I clear? I'll repeat again. Stop all that you're doing right now. Come back and follow the steps that I'm asking you to follow. And don't do it right now. Okay, you should not do it right now. Do it during the breakout session. Okay, all right. So now I am on the EC2 page, and I clicked on instances on the left side. Okay, I'm on instances, and right now it's all empty for me. What I'm doing is I'm clicking on this yellow button called orange button called launch instance. Click this orange button. Yeah, I've clicked the orange button. Now this is a wizard that I get. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 steps are there. You have to complete all the 7 steps so that you successfully launch an EC2 instance. Okay, the first step in this is choose an AMI. What is an AMI? It's called Amazon Machine Image. So that is the operating system that you're choosing. What operating system you want to build, run? Is it a Windows or Linux? If it is a Linux, what sort of Linux? A Red Hat Linux or a Ubuntu or CentOS, or what sort of instance that you want to run? What sort of operating system that you want to run? Okay. So now here on this page, you'll see a quick start. You have my AMIs. I told you, right, that you can also build your own AMI. You can take it to AWS and you can use that to spin your virtual machines because it's infrastructure as a service. PV Narasimha Express Highway, right? Which has got a road given to you, infrastructure given to you, but you can buy any car. You can buy a Maruti 800, or you can buy a Mercedes, and you can drive on top of that road, correct? Similarly, you can bring your own AMI also. Okay, then there's something called marketplace and community. Ignore it for now, but right now let's focus only on quick start. In quick start, if you see, you'll see this list of so many AMIs that are available. Okay, there are about 40 AMI standard machine images that Amazon gives you. Okay, so now these are all multiple of flavors of operating systems, right? The first two are Amazon Linux, Amazon's own Linux distribution. The first week when I taught you Linux, what did I tell you? Linux operating system is open source. Anybody can take the source code, build their own version of code, and release it for anybody's use, right? Because it's open source. So in this case, what Amazon has done is Amazon has built their own version of Linux. Okay, so which is based on the Red Hat flavor, not the Ubuntu flavor. It's based on the Red Hat flavor. It's called Amazon Linux. It uses like Yum repository and things like that. Okay, so then comes Amazon Linux itself has got two versions to it. One AMI which was released in 2018, old one. Oh, this is the new one. This is version 1. This is version 2. And then what you get there is you get some more details about it, like it can support the SSD volume type. Okay, not just the magnetic. Magnetic is magnetic, whereas it supports an SSD volume type. This is the ID of the AMI, unique ID of the AMI. Okay, and it can either be on x86 platform, okay, 64-bit x86 platform, What is x86? Does anybody know what a x86 platform is?
8086
Yes,
microprocessor
that is
architecture.
Processor architects.
64-bit operating system.
Wow, excellent. I heard so many voices. Very nice. It is a 8086 microprocessor architecture. Okay, so it is an x86 and it can also support ARM. Okay, ARM is another architecture. Okay, you can read about ARM later on. ARM processor. It's getting very popular these days. ARM processor. Okay, just read about the ARM architecture. Okay, you can also search for difference between x86 versus ARM. You'll see a lot of articles. Just go through that later on whenever you find time. Okay, ARM is getting quite popular these days, right? Okay, and Intel is basically on x86. Okay, Intel, AMD, they're all on x86 architecture. Whereas ARM is not on x86, ARM is on RISC. So that's what you see here. It's what all architectures that this image supports. It supports x86 and it also supports the ARM. Similarly, you can just come down, you will see a lot of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8, which also supports x86 and ARM. And below that, you will see that few more things, right? Like root device type is EBS. Okay, for now, ignore it. I mean, consider that EBS is like your hard disk. I'll tell you there are more options to that. And you can select either x86 or an ARM here. Whichever architecture that you want, you can select that. Like you get a Ubuntu server, okay, Ubuntu operating system 20.04. Okay, so then you have Windows, Microsoft Windows Server 2019, Microsoft Windows Server 2019. There's so many with SQL Server, with it comes with along with the database server. That image contains the database server also. But if you see the standard one doesn't contain any softwares on top of it. It only has operating system. Okay, and you will see so many operating systems here. Ubuntu, SUSE Linux, so many Windows, again Amazon Linux. There's something called Deep Learning AMI, which is on Ubuntu for AI/ML kind of a processing. Okay, and you can search here, right? You can search CentOS. You don't have CentOS in the quick start, but you'll see CentOS in the community AMIs. Community AMI is I can also build an AMI and put it in the community AMI. Anybody can use it. Okay, but in the official ones that Amazon provides, Amazon only provides those 40 AMIs, right? You can do a Red Hat or RHEL. You can say RHEL. Okay, it's called Red Hat. Red Hat. You see a Red Hat. You get Ubuntu. You get Windows. You see Windows here. Or you get Amazon Linux. You type Amazon. These are all Amazon Linux. CentOS is not there. So only these are the 4 standard operating systems that Amazon provides through their official AMIs. But apart from that, you can go to marketplace. Like it's like this, no? If you shop in Amazon.in, there are certain goods that are delivered directly by Amazon. But there are certain goods which are delivered through the marketplace, other third-party vendors, other third-party sellers. So these are all like third-party. Okay, that is number one that you have to look at. The other thing that you have to look at is you look at whether that operating system that you are choosing, the image that you're choosing has got this free tier eligible. So now all of you have created your accounts. There is some limits that your accounts will have. Okay. Now that your account is eligible for a 1 year free trial for you through free tier. But that free trial is only a limited trial. You cannot, it can only provide you a T2.micro. Okay, it cannot provide you anything above that, more than that. If you provision anything more than that, then you will be charged. Your credit cards will be charged. So now what I want all of you to do is, I want to go through this link very clearly and understand what free tier means. Okay, so free tier of AWS, when you first provision your account, for 1 year from the day you provision your account, your free tier will be eligible. You will be eligible for a free tier. After that 1 year, you will lose access to free tier. Then you will have to start paying for it. But even that free tier is like a sample which is given to you. You cannot, experience the whole thing. I mean, you can learn using free tier, but you cannot use it beyond a certain limit. Then it will be charged. So I'm again making it very clear. So don't think that you use anything within AWS for 1 year, everything is free. No, that is not the case. Only certain things are free within that free tier limits for that 1 year. Okay, if you use it within that limits, it is free. But beyond that, if you use, it is not free. Okay, it's like this, no? Right, you go to malls, you'll have those small food stalls, right? In the malls, right? They'll try out some. They want you to try out some sample of something, maybe some special menu that they're launching in the market, right? They want to try out. So what they do, they just give you a small sample of that. So passers-by are going, and you're basically going for a shopping. So you will see that somebody is offering you. They have a small stall, and they are offering you a small cup of some flavor of ice cream. Let's say it's an ice cream shop. Some new flavor has come up, and they're offering a free sample of that ice cream. So you can just take that ice cream, you can just have it, and then if you like it, you can buy more quantity of that. You can buy more scoops of it. But what they are initially offering you is a very small scoop, maybe 1/4 of a scoop or a half scoop, right? And then you have it. If you like it, you can uh, you can buy more. If you don't like it, or even if you don't want to buy, you say, I just want to try for the heck of it. It's not about whether I like it or not, whether I buy it or not. I just want to try it for the heck of it. So you can just have it, throw it, and you can go away. Okay, so that's like the free tier that Amazon is offering. Amazon is offering you a free tier so that you can have a taste of it. You can get a sample taste of it for free. But if you want more, you have to pay for it. So imagine that analogy very clearly. Okay, so that you don't end up spending on your credit card. So now what you get for free? That half scoop that you get for free, right? What is that half scoop? Is read very clearly. Compute. You get 750 hours per month of what? I'm zooming this in. Okay, you're getting a 750 hours of per month of Linux or RHEL or SLES T2.micro or T3.micro instance only. 750 hours per month of Windows T2.micro or T3.micro instance dependent on region. Only this you get as free. See very clearly, it's a T2.micro or T3.micro, which is the t-shirt size. I told you, right? Micro is the size, 3 is the instance family, T is the, 3 is the generation, and T is the instance family. In this case, the instance family is T, and the generation is either 2 or 3 generation. so that they just want you to get a feel of it. Okay. Similarly, there are other services. Don't worry about too much on S3 and things like that. There are other services which comes with it. Okay. So okay, in fact, let's look at storage also a little more. S3 is there, and also EBS will be there. EBS, and just say where is EBS? Yeah, you get 30 GB. A total of 30 GB of EBS, which is the hard disk, correct? Which can either be a general purpose or magnetic, which is SSD or magnetic. Okay, which is 30 GB per month. If you provision more than 30 GB, you will be charged. So make sure that you don't provision anything which is greater than 30 GB on on the EBS, and you don't provision anything which is on EC2. You don't provision anything other than T2.micro or T3.micro, and which does not exceed 750 hours per month. That is very important. See, that 750 hours is the aggregate hours. Okay, like for example, I may run. I'll open an Excel sheet. Okay, I'm running one EC2 instance of T3.micro. Okay, I'm running it for 24 hours a day. So what will be, and then I'm running it for 30 days a month. So what will be my total hours? Equal to 24 hours a day into 30 hours a month, which will be 720 hours. Okay, but what Amazon is giving you additional 30 hours. That's okay, just in case. So this is one way of calculating it. At the end of the day, this is what matters. T3.micro, you can run a maximum of 750 hours per month. 12 months free per month. If you see this per month, you can run 750 hours per month. So now you can consume that 750 hours in 10 days also. How? Okay, I'm running 10 EC2 instances T3.micro 24 hours per day. Okay, so this into this also. I'll just say into this. So I'm running one EC2 instance 24 hours a day, 30 days a month, which will be 720 hours, right? Whereas in this case, I'm running 10 EC2 instances 24 hours a day, okay, for say 3 days a month, for 3 days in the month. So how much it will come to? Equal to 10 into 24 into 3, 720. So if you run 10 EC2 instances of T3.micro 24 hours a day for 3 days, you will still end up finishing your 720 hours or 750 hours of limit that you have. So you might know that difference very clearly. At the end of the day, it is the compute time. How many hours are you running that? Okay, so know that very clearly. Are you all clear with this calculations? So you can run one EC2 instance of T3.micro 24 hours a day, 30 days a month. You are covered. You will not be charged. But if you run more than one, let's assume you're running two, then you'll be charged. Then you're running 1440 hours, total of 1440 hours. Total hours will be 1440 hours. but you're only eligible for 750 hours, which is the free hours that you get. So how much you'll be charged? You'll be charged for 690 hours. How much you'll be charged? You'll be charged 690 into whatever point, what is the T3.micro price. If you want, you can check the price of T3.micro. T3.micro. You can go here and look at the on-demand pricing. Linux T3.micro is $0.0104 per hour, which is probably less than it's about a cent, 1 cent. Okay, it will be, this is the price that you get, right? This is dollar, US dollars, $0.0104 per month, right? Per hour. So you're running 690 hours. So you will be charged $7 total. So $7 into how much is a dollar? Probably I don't know the current price. Maybe 72, 73
75.
rupees. I don't. 75. Okay. Yeah, whatever it is, 74, 75. Okay, so you will be charged 500 rupees per month if you run this. It will be charged to your credit card. So this is the calculation that you have to be aware of.
Sir, it doesn't show the how many hours we had taken.
It shows. You will get a detailed report. I'll tell you how to look at it. But remember, this is what it is. So what I would suggest is all of you know this concept, learn this concept well. Ensure that you don't spin off more than one EC2 instance of T3.micro. And you don't have to run it 24 hours a day. You can shut it down. Okay. You can shut it down when you're not using it. So that way you conserve this hours. Okay, in this case, you're left with 30 more hours. You won't be charged anything. You're left with 30 more hours, right? In this case, if you're running one EC2 instance for 24 hours a day, 30 days a month, you'll only be charged, you'll be within the limit of 750 hours, 750 free hours. So even now, you can optimize it further. Like say, for example, you assume you're practicing with your EC2 instance, you're learning so many things. I mean, you can provision it, you can run it for say 2 to 3 hours. At the end of your practice session, you can terminate that instance. Again, next day when you come, you can re-provision one more instance. Or max, you can shut it down. Don't keep it running because it's a running instance, right? If you shut it down, the capacity is released, but your storage will still remain, but only the compute capacity will go away. Again, you can come back next day and again you can start it. When you start it, again the billing will start, the counter will start, meter will start. Okay, that's how cloud works. You're not, for any instance which is shut down, where you're not using the compute resources, which is the CPU and memory, you're not charged. But only when you start it, when you fire it up, when you start it, that is when the meter starts. It's like electricity, correct? Only when you use electricity, you'll be charged. Other than that, you won't be charged. Okay. But storage is not like that. The underlying EBS volume is not like that. Okay. Whether you use it or not, you are charged because that capacity is reserved for you. AWS has no clue what you're storing in that EBS volume, correct? So that way, remember this very clearly and ensure that you use this judiciously. Use your free tier in a judicious fashion. Don't use it left, right, center, and don't provision anything other than T2 or T3 micro. Okay, and don't provision, and you select only that AMI which has the free tier in it. Okay. Okay. All right. So now you will see that I'll just zoom this in a little bit. Yeah. So you will see that there is a free tier eligible here, right? Use that. Use only those AMIs where you have a free tier. It can either be Windows or it can be Linux. Okay, so if you see Windows, yeah, Windows, there are 2 Windows servers which have free tier in it. Rest of it don't have any free tier because they come with some software. SQL Server is there, right? SQL Server is a database which is licensed. So they don't want to give it for free, in the free tier at least. Okay. So that way, you just look at, you want to provision a 2019 Windows server, look at this black thing which says free tier eligible. Okay. So now let us do one thing. Let us provision a Linux instance. Okay. I want to select the latest version of Amazon Linux 2 AMI, which is 64-bit x86. I don't want ARM. I'll not do ARM. I'll just do a 64-bit x86, and then I'll say select. Okay. When I say select, the next wizard will show me what instance type I want to select. I have selected the operating system, which is the AMI. Now I want to select the t-shirt size. Whether I want small, medium, large. Here you get the complete list of family, type, how many CPUs. vCPUs is nothing but virtual CPUs, right? It's a CPU, but it's virtual. How many vCPUs, how much of memory, RAM, right? And what is the storage? I mean, instance storage is it EBS? Forget about this. Don't worry too much about it. Rest of it, don't worry. For now, look at these 3 columns: type, vCPUs, and memory. I have so many t-shirt sizes here, right? Like micro, nano, small, medium, large, X large, and so many instance families, like generations 3, 3A, and T is like instance family, right? I showed you that in the previous slide. And you have M5, right? 2x large, M5.2x large. You have then R5.2x large, C5, so many. You see, so in fact, if you see this, right? C5A.24x large has 96 processors and 192 GB of RAM. It's a very powerful machine. And you see that it has got a 20 gigabit of network connectivity. Oh, look at this. 96 and 384. And look at the 64 CPUs and 732 GB of RAM. It's for very high-end processing. Very high-end. You can go through this. Like you see this. This has 128 processors, CPUs, 3.9 TB of RAM alone. Oh my God, can't imagine. 3.9 TB of RAM. This is used for in-memory databases like SAP HANA. How many of you know SAP HANA? Greenplum. Have you all heard of SAP HANA?
No, sir.
No? Who's that? Z0? Somebody said no. Who said no?
Z039.
Z039. Okay, Z039, where do you live?
Hyderabad.
I know, in Hyderabad, where?
I don't live in Hyderabad, but near to Hyderabad.
Okay, so I'm sure you would have visited Hyderabad many times. Have you gone to Amirpet? Have you been to Amirpet?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Or yeah. So Amirpet has got hundreds of training institutes. Right? And if you go to the
Yes, sir.
lane between that passport office lane, no, in Amirpet, you have the passport Seva Kendra, right, where it takes you to next to Satyam
near
Theatre, Satyam
near
Cinemas.
near Satyam Theatre.
Near Satyam Theatres. you will see that you will be bombarded with pamphlets. You'll be bombarded with pamphlets where the training institutes would offering their courses
yes.
on Hadoop, data science, AWS, Azure, SAP
Yeah,
HANA.
big data.
Yeah, SAP HANA. Okay.
Yeah.
So SAP HANA is a very famous SAP product. It's an in-memory database. Usually SAP HANA runs on this kind of, it doesn't run on the disk, hard disk. The entire database runs
Yeah.
only on memory.
Yes.
Imagine then how much powerful the memory should be, right? So it's
Yeah.
a 3.9 TB of memory. Oh my god, I don't have a 3.9, but my all my hard disks put together, external hard disks, it's about 3 TB. Okay. So now,
Yes.
oh, don't go and select this. Anyways, you won't be able to provision this with the account that we have. This needs some special privileges and all that. But don't go and provision any of these. You'll then end up. In fact, I'm interested to see what is the price of that. Sorry, guys. Sorry for digressing. How much is that costing? This is X1E.32X large, right? How much is it costing? X1E is $26 per hour. Oh my god. So $26 per hour means equal to 26 into 720 hours is $18,000 per month into 75 rupees will be how much? 14 lakhs. 14 lakhs, no? Yeah, yeah. Monthly, you'll if you provision one instance of that X1E.14X large, we'll end up spending 14 lakhs only on that instance. It's such a powerful instance. Anyways, let's not digress too much. Okay, so now you all understood, right? So use only T2.micro or T3.micro. I'll go back. I'm selecting only T2.micro. So now one more thing to note there is you'll get this free tier eligible small green banner below that, right? So select that T2.micro. Okay, and don't select anything else. Wherever you see this green, select only that. Don't even select T3. I think T3.micro is also free. Okay, but it's not showing here. But yeah, to be on safe side, don't select anything other than this free tier eligible. Okay, do you all get it? Don't select anything other than which is free tier eligible. Next, say configure instance details. Leave all of this intact. Don't change anything in this because it will provision it in a default VPC. VPC concepts, I'll explain you what is VPC. You need a little more understanding of that. I'll explain that in the subsequent sessions. And don't change any of these. See, these are all the networking related. Okay, you will need to understand a little more on the networking, then you'll be able to appreciate it better. Don't change any of this. Leave this as default VPC. Auto assign public IP just make it default so that it gets a public IP address, which so that you will be able to log into that. Don't modify any of this. Just leave all of this as it is. Click on next, add storage. In add storage, the default size that it gives is 8 GB of GP2. Don't change this also, and then you'll be charged. If you modify this to GP2 to IO1, you'll be charged. Don't do that. Just keep it as is. 8 GB. Remember, 30 GB is free. You can provision up to 30 GB. If you have any doubts, you can just refer to this page. Select EBS. You see 30 GB is free per month. Okay. So now, but I'm well within my 30 GB limits. I'm only provisioning like 8 GB, the default one, and GP2. So here also, if you see, they're talking about only GP2, general purpose. Any combination of SSD or magnetic general purpose. So here, this is a general purpose GP2. The GP2 is just
For
the.
every instance, 30 GB is free, sir.
Sorry, for?
For every instance, 30 GB is free.
No. 30 GB put together for, see, 30 GB per month is free. you can again split it between 3 instances or put it in one single instance. If you provision anything above 30 GB at any point in time, you will be charged extra.
Okay. If we take 2 instances, means we have to keep 15 GB and 15 GB.
15
Like
GB,
that.
15 GB, yes, at any given point in time.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Or you can provision 100 GB, not a problem, but ensure that your monthly limit is not exceeding that. Okay. The way it gets calculated is again, like you have 720 hours, right? Because you have 24 hours in a day and 30 days in a month, right? So that's how it gets calculated, GB per month. Okay, your GB per month should be not more than that, not more than 30 GB.
Okay.
Okay, you can run a 30 GB hard disk for 30 days a month, you won't be charged. Okay, but if you make 30 GB to 40 GB and you run for 24 hours a day, 30 days a month, then you'll be charged for the additional 10 GB. But you can further optimize. You see, you're not going to need it for all the time. No, you will practice it for say 4 to 5 hours, and then you're going to terminate that instance. When you terminate the instance, the underlying storage will also go away along with that. So that's why you have this delete on termination.
Okay.
You have to ensure that this is checked unless you want to use it later. For practice, for the sake of practice. Later on, I'll tell you, when you actually do production workloads or when you actually implement it, that will be slightly different, but it will be delete on termination. You have to enable the delete on termination and don't select any encryption and all for now. But for now, just leave it default. Today, you guys just follow what I'm asking you to do. Don't venture out anything else, okay? So then you click on next, add tags. Tags is nothing but you can just give a tag, anything. It can be a name. I'm just giving, it's a key value pair, right? You just give a name here and just give my first EC2 instance. This should not have any spaces, okay? And it will be tagged on both instance and volume. You can add something else. What is the purpose of this? Purpose is RPL lab exercise 1. RPL AWS lab exercise 1. Just give a purpose. You can give any number of tags. You can, it's just a friendly thing that it's for easy reference for your own reference later at a later. You can search using the tags. Say that there are thousands of EC2 instances, you have tagged them properly. You can simply search by name which has EC2 instance in it, so it will bring everything. Okay, then in this security group page, just leave it default. Don't change anything. It by default it has create a new security group, and it will have SSH protocol TCP port 22 custom sources 000. I'll explain all of this later, but for now leave it like this. Don't change anything. The moment you change it, you'll not be able to connect to that instance. Okay, and then say review and launch. It will give you a page like this. Okay, let me come from beginning. I'm coming from the first screen. First screen, when I hit on, I'll just say cancel and exit. Okay, first launch instances. Select Amazon Linux 2 AMI with 64-bit in it, which has free tier eligible. Select that. In the instance type, in step 2, choose t2.micro, which has the free tier eligible green button, green thing. Next, configure instance details. Don't change anything. Leave it as it is. Don't change the number of instances and all. Just leave it as it is. Before that, select the Mumbai region. Okay, and then click on next, add storage. Leave it default. 8 GB is the storage, and delete on termination is enabled here. Just leave it default. Don't add any new volumes. Add tags. Give a name tag. My first EC2 instance. add another tag, purpose, RPL AWS lab access. Anything you can just give owner, just say owner is Prasanna, something, yeah. Then configure security group. Sixth step, it will by default be on a create new security group, which will have a name to it, and it will have SSH TCP 22 custom 00/0. Okay, and you will get the small warning. Ignore this warning. I'll explain this later. Then say review and launch. You'll get a summary page here where you can just review this whole thing, and then you can say launch. When you say launch, you will get this pop-up. It is giving you a warning saying that there is no key pair exists. Key pair, I was asking some time back. What is the first thing that you do when you buy a computer? You will set a username and password, correct? Somebody said username and somebody said password. So here also, yeah. So this is the way to set the username password for your EC2 instance. So now for that, you're not specifically creating a username password, you're only creating a key pair with which you can log into that instance. Okay. So now here you can create a new key pair. Just say create a new key pair and then give a name to the key pair. I'll say my key pair. I'm just giving a name. Okay. Okay. Now before you hit on launch, you have to download the private key. Okay, because it works on a private key public key model, right? So where there is a private key with which you will be able to encrypt and decrypt. Okay, whereas with the public key, you can only decrypt, you can't encrypt. Okay, so now you have to download this key pair. So you select create a new key pair, my key pair, download the key pair. So when you download, it'll pop up on the browser to save the file somewhere in the disk. Okay, just save the file. It has actually gone into my downloads directory. If you see, it has gone into my downloads directory, my key pair. Okay, so now that key pair will have, if I open that, open with okay, leave it. I will not confuse you guys, just leave it like that. I'm not going to open it. Yeah, actually, if you open it in notepad, you will see that you will see that you will get a public RSA private key for that. Okay, this is the secret key, private key to log into the EC2 instance. Don't worry too much. Okay, I've downloaded it. Only when you hit on download key pair, and once it is stored in the disk, then your launch instance button will be active. Until then, it won't be active. You have to download your private key file before you can continue. So the way is, I mean, you create one key pair. Next time onwards, you can reuse the same key pair. You don't have to create this every time. You don't have to create the key pair every time you provision the EC2 instance. And then say launch instance. Okay, so you might get an error like this because see, this is a brand new account that I created. Okay. So when I create a brand new account, what AWS will do is AWS will not allow you to provision resources in every region due to restrictions because it's a new account. Anybody may create a new account and anybody may try to bring down AWS or by hack into or by provisioning resources, provisioning huge number of resources, right? So I mean, if somebody wants to you know uh, bring down Amazon cloud by provisioning say 1,000 accounts, and each account is going to try to provision resources in that region. Okay, so in that case capacity will be out very soon, correct? Somebody wants to do a capacity denial of service attack. Okay, somebody wants to say that, okay, AWS, I'm now threatening you, I'm not going to allow you to give capacity to people who genuinely need it. I'm just going to go bombard your region with EC2 instances, so that you will run out of capacity. So because of that, what AWS usually does is it waits for some time, and when new resources, when new accounts are provisioned. So you may get this in Mumbai region, which is fine. So move to North Virginia. You try it in some other region. Do it in the North Virginia region. Again, follow the same process. Select Amazon 2, select T2.micro. Don't change anything here. Leave it as it is. Add storage. Don't change anything. Ensure the delete on termination is checked. Add tags. I'll not add tags. Skip the tags. Configure security group. I'll just go with the standard security group. Launch. Okay, so now again, key pairs are region specific. If you move from Mumbai to North Virginia, the key pair that you created in Mumbai region won't be valid in North Virginia region. So you have to again create a new key pair in North Virginia. The first time you have to create it. I'll say my key pair. I'll say North Virginia. I'll just say Virginia. My keeper Virginia. I'll just say download keeper. It will download the keeper. I'll just save the keeper. Once it is downloaded, your launch instances will be visible to you. Then you go hit launch instances. Is being okay. Again, I'm having an issue here. Okay, so I have to basically write to AWS. Okay, let me do one thing. I have another account. This is a brand new account that I created. Probably it's not allowing me to do. Let me just sign out. I'm just going to stop screen sharing. I'll log into my another account and show you. Okay. I have logged into my another account. Sharing my screen. Probably that account has got some validation issues. Maybe it's not validated properly. So if you guys face an issue, it will ask you to send an email. So what you can do is you can go to the support and raise a support. You go to the support center. If any of you face that problem, just go to the support center, and then you can create a case. Okay, you can create a case here saying that, and then create a case, and then say that account and billing support. Just say account. Just say category as activation, and then put your subject here saying that please activate my account, and then give a description here, and then submit the case. Somebody will contact you, and then your problem will be solved. Okay, but let me go back to EC2. I'll quickly show you. We're running out of time, so I'm just going run launch instance, Linux free tier eligible, Linux 2, Amazon Linux 2, T2.micro, free tier eligible. Next, configure instance details. Default, I'm not changing anything. Add storage, 8 GB, delete on termination is checked. Add tags, I'm not adding any tags. Security groups, the default security group which is there, I'm not changing anything. Review and launch. I don't have a keeper in this account. I'll create a new keeper. I'll say my keeper underscore RPL underscore Virginia. That's the keeper. I'll say until I download the keeper, my launch instance won't be activated. So I'll save the keeper. It is saved to my disk. You have to store it in a very safe place, and then hit on launch instance. Okay, voila. So you have the instance launched. I'll say click on view instances. You see this? It is actually launching the instance. I can even edit the name from here. Okay, I can edit the name from here. Let's see that. My first EC2 name I'm giving. My first the name. So now if you see, it is still pending. Okay, it has moved to running state. Yes, now when it goes to running state, you will see that you'll see all the details about it. But if you go to the status checks, usually you will have status checks 1 by 1, 1 by 2, 2 by 2. So all of that is done. You see, my very first virtual machine server on cloud is up and running in how many seconds? 20 seconds or probably 30 seconds or less than a minute. That is the power of cloud. Okay, so now this is the IP address that I have, and you will have two IP addresses: public IPv4 address, private IPv4 address. Private IP address is within that private network. But if I want to access my EC2 instance, I have to use this public instance, public IPv4 address. Okay, so now this is the IP address that I have, 54.196.241.19. Now, how do I connect to that? If you remember, we created a key pair called my key pair RPL Virginia. Okay, so now you can open, if you are using Windows, use PuTTY. If you are using Ubuntu, any of the other Ubuntu or Mac, you can use the terminal in Ubuntu or Mac. But if you're using Windows, you have to use PuTTY. I'll tell you how to connect through PuTTY. Okay. In order to connect through PuTTY, there is a way to convert your key pair file that you got. You have to convert it into a PuTTY compatible file, right? And then you have to use that, import that into PuTTY to connect to that EC2 instance. So how many of you have Windows? Okay, so many of you, right? Probably half of the class has got Windows. So what I'll do is I'll show you unfortunately I don't have a Windows. I use Mac. But for those of you who use your Ubuntu or any Mac, what you can do is you can open the terminal, follow the steps to connect to the new EC2 instance that we have provisioned. Okay, and of course you need internet access. So let me first go to my folder where I have the key. Right? I have my key in my downloads directory. ls -l star dot pem files, right? So these are the key pairs that I have. Okay, which key pair that I used? I used my key pair RPL Virginia. That is the key pair that I used. Okay. So now what you need to do is you have to pass this command ssh -i my key pair underscore RPL Virginia.pem. So then the default username for this EC2 instance would be EC2 user, EC2-user. That is the username. At the rate, you have to give this public IPv4 address. Copy that public IPv4 address and you can paste it here. Okay, so it's very simple. SSH -i, you're using this key to log into this EC2 instance 54.196.241 as user as EC2-user. EC2-user is the default user which gets created in that image. Okay, so you have to log in as some username, right? Some administrator or something like that. So the username is EC2-user, and the IP address that you want to connect to is the new EC2 instance that you have provisioned. Okay, SSH -i, that key pair, EC2 user at the rate that particular IP address. So once you do that, it'll for the first time it'll ask you to authenticate your identity, right? You have to say yes. It'll just do a fingerprint validation. Just say yes. Type yes. So it is. So now whatever you learned in Linux class comes into handy. Linux, what did we learn? we learned that chmod, correct? So now what is the permissions of my key pair file? It is every, I can read and write, others can read, but this is a private key file, right? Others are not supposed to even read that file because it's a security violation. You're like exposing your password to others, correct? So what you have to do is you have to chmod
400.
you, yeah, you can do a 400, or you can say u equal to read group equal to, group is nothing, just u equal to read. Okay, and then say my keeper underscore rtl. So now just say ls-l star.pem. Okay, or just say chmod 400 my keeper. So now just do an ls-l star.pem. If you see, only I can read, no one else can read that file. Okay, cool. So now let's connect again using ssh. Yeah, it's connected. You will get this successfully. Amazon Linux to AMI, and then you should get into that prompt saying that EC2 user at the rate, whatever that host name of that EC2 instance. You should get to this step successfully. Okay, and there are tutorials to follow this. I'll give you those links. You can do this after the class. Sorry, one second. Okay, so this is good. Are you all clear? So now let's do it from Windows also. In Windows, it's very simple. You have to use a putty. All of you download putty on your Windows.
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt. You are logging with EC2 user at the rate of public IP. So, but it's showing as EC2 user at the rate of private IP.
No, ignore that. That is the host name. That is the name of that computer. That's okay. It's a private IP because since this EC2 instance has got a public IP address, you have to connect through public IP address. That is a public interface, not the private interface. The one, that private IP that you see 172.31.28.252, that is only internally facing within the network of that VPC. It's not publicly available.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so don't worry about that. You'll still see the private IP address here. I'll explain all those concepts when we talk about VPC and subnets and things like that. But for now, don't worry too much about that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so now okay, so also one more way of connecting, or not, I mean, to how to connect to that, right? Just hit on this connect. So from putty, if you have to connect, right? Okay, I'm just trying to get to the info. Okay, connecting to your Linux using SSH. Yeah, so if you have to connect using putty, so now if you I'm sending you this link in the chat. You can read through this link. Now if you're connecting to it using an SSH client, where you already have a terminal or Ubuntu or any of your Linux flavors, you will be using SSH client, or you will be using putty. If you're connecting it from Windows, you need to use putty. So now how to use putty? Read this link. You'll understand how to configure your putty to connect to the EC2 instance. I'm just pasting it in the URL chat. Okay, so now I'll quickly walk you through. We're running out of time. Okay, so now if you see, connecting to your instance, Linux instance from Windows using putty. Okay, follow all these prerequisites and download putty from this page. You can just download it from here. After that, it's pretty self-explanatory. After that, once you download that PEM file, right, the one that I just showed you, this PEM file, once you download that PEM file, what you need to do is you have to open putty, and there's something called putty gen. In all programs, putty, you just follow the steps. It'll be very simple. Once you have the putty gen, you have to load that file in that putty gen. Okay, you have to select that PEM file, the p.pem file that you downloaded from the AWS console. Okay, and then what you do is you load that file, and then you have to save the private key in the format that putty understands. So once you save it, then you will get a file called ppk out of it, with an extension called ppk with the same file name. Okay, so now once you have it, then from putty, what you need to do is you open putty like this. Okay, so then you have to go to putty, whatever I used in SSH, right? This EC2 user at the rate of public IP address. You have to give that here. EC2 user at the rate public IP address or the FQDN, and you have to use the port as 22 because 22 is the SSH port. After that, what you need to do is you have to go to you have to go here in under, you have to expand this SSH. Then there you will key an auth. You will get an auth. In that auth, you have to select that file. Okay, you have to select that ppk file. That steps are actually explained here. Okay, in the category pane, you see this category pane. You see connection, expand SSH, and then choose auth, and then do the following. Click on browse, select the ppk file that you completed in the first step, and say open, and then say open. It will be able to use that ppk file to connect to this EC2. Okay, just follow the steps. You should be able to do it. Unfortunately, I'm not able to show you today because I don't have a Windows. My laptop is a Mac, but I'm sure you should be able to follow those instructions. Don't miss any steps. Don't miss any steps. Follow this step by step, and then go through this. I think you should be good. Or if somebody has got a Windows machine, can you share your screen? I can guide you through. Who wants to do this?
Can I share my screen?
Yeah, you can share your screen. So if you're stuck somewhere, don't worry, follow the documentation. Okay, follow the steps, follow the documentation. You should be able to do it. It's not a big deal. Okay, maybe you missed some of the steps that I just mentioned, but keep all defaults. Don't change any settings when you launch the EC2 instance. Just keep defaults. The last page, when it is to generate the key pair, generate a new key pair, download the key pair into your local computer. You should be good. Okay, in spite of that, if you have issues, just park those issues aside. We can look at it later. And most importantly, after you are done with it, terminate the EC2 instance. Okay, let's do one thing. Who's sharing screen? A33, you are sharing your screen, correct? Do you have putty? You have to share your entire screen. Do you have putty? Have you provisioned the instance? No, you have not provisioned the instance, right?
Yes, sir.
Have you provisioned it?
No, sir.
No, you have not provisioned it, right? Okay, let's do one thing. I have to jump into a meeting now. So you can stop your screen sharing. I'll reshare my screen. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to worry too much. Just follow the steps. You should be able to get it done. Whatever I showed you on the console, it's all pretty straightforward. Okay, if you want, you can again go through the video, this video recording, for the steps that I performed. If you're stuck somewhere until that point, but only the thing is that I'm not able to show you the putty. That is the only thing. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now you can. We can.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir,
Yes,
you
sir.
are audible.
Audible, sir.
Yeah. Am I audible? Sorry, my Bluetooth had some issues. Okay. Okay. So you guys can just follow this for Windows. Just follow the second link that I have sent. So after you're done, right? Once you're able to connect to the EC2 instance, okay, I'll show you again how do you connect to the EC2 instance. You have to use SSH-i for all Ubuntu users or Linux users. SSH-i, your key pair, EC2 user @ your IP address, which is the public IP address of the EC2 instance. If you try with private IP, it won't work. Okay. After you provision, search for public IPv4 address and use that IP address, not the private IP address. Private IP address won't work. Okay. So now once you are done, it is very simple. What you do is you go to instances. You will see those instances. You will see that instance what is running here. Okay. Select that instance. You can perform so many actions on that. I'll show all those actions later on. You can stop, reboot, but what I want you to do is to terminate. You're deleting that instance. You're terminating that instance. So click on terminate instance. It will ask you a warning, a small warning. Uh, Click on, if you really want to terminate this instance, choose the terminate button below. Cannot be undone. Okay. So just hit on terminate. This is ensure that this is the instance that you have provisioned, and then hit on terminate. So once you terminate, it will shut down the instance, and then it is going to stop the instance and terminate the instance. It's going to clean up all the resources that it provisioned. So your charges also will stop with this. The moment you terminate, the charges will stop. Okay. So now I provisioned this instance somewhere around 10:30, right? So it has been running for about 40 minutes or so. Okay. So now the minimum unit of measurement is 1 hour. It's like your, whether even if you talk for 10 seconds, you will be charged on a per minute, right? One pulse rate will go, right? And usually in phone calls. That way here, the minimum billing unit is per hour. So even if I run it for 5 minutes, I'll be charged for 1 hour. That is the minimum billing. Okay, so now out of 750 hours, I have used 1 hour. I have consumed 1 hour. Okay, just make it very clear. Out of the 750 hours of free, I am charged for 1 hour. I have 749 hours left. Okay, assume I have provisioned two EC2 instances here. Okay, and I deleted it in about 45 minutes, both the instances. Then 2 hours of 750 hours is gone. I'm left with 748 hours. Okay. So similarly, if I provision 10 EC2 instances and ran it for 30 minutes and then I deprovisioned it, then 10 hours is gone. I'm left with 740 hours. That is the way you have to look at it. Okay. So now follow the steps. Provision your first EC2 instance. Successfully try to connect to it using the approach I just gave. You should be good. You can easily complete this lab today or tomorrow, right? And then you can basically, uh, uh, follow the steps that is mentioned in this, right? And then go through some of the links from go through the documentation of EC2. Whether you understand it or don't understand, that's okay. That's not. It doesn't matter. Just go through the documentation. Whatever knowledge you can gain out of it, just gain out of it. But just complete this first EC2 instance lab successfully before Monday. And then we can start with more advanced topics on VPC. I am going to explain you more of EC2 from Monday onwards. Okay, so now that the instance is deprovisioned or I've deleted my instance, if I try connecting to it, it won't connect because it's gone. Okay. Okay. All right. So maybe you can go into your or breakout rooms and then let your mentors know about if you still don't have a AWS account, please give a call out to your mentors and give your respective email addresses to mentors. Okay. So
Sure, no, thank you.
Sure. Thanks.
Ravi, are you there? Sure. Thank you, Prasanna. Now, we'll get back to you with the list of students that who has no access to it, and then we'll direct them to the mentoring room. Now.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, just get that list to me. I'll do something for them, right? And we'll find out some alternatives for them. And more importantly, students who are able to get your EC2 instance working, that is the first step. Okay. Give a pat on your back if you're able to get it working, if you're able to successfully connect to it. Very good. So those of you who are not able to do it, don't worry, you're not losing much. You can always catch up, but please do this before Monday and try out some things within the limits of free tier. Okay, don't provision anything other than t2.micro. If you have provisioned it, remember to terminate it before you end the lab session. More important, I can't stress enough on it. I can't stress further on it. Deprovision it so that you can conserve that free tier limit that you have, and so that you're not charged beyond a certain limit. Okay, so follow this very religiously and you should be able to successfully complete this. Okay, and then follow the steps that I've given, and follow that article that I've given, and read through more on EC2 documentation from the public AWS documentation that you have. Okay, and then I'll see you all on Monday. And in the meantime, make use of this time to practice more, and then we'll catch up on Monday with more advanced topics on EC2, and we'll start with VPCs and other things on Monday. Okay, all right. Thanks then. Thanks all for joining. Thanks mentors. Thanks Sai Krishna. Thanks Ravi. If students are having any specific issues, I'll connect with you later offline. I have to unfortunately jump into a call now. Okay,
Sure,
I'll connect with you later today or tomorrow, and maybe we can take a stock of how many people were able to do it. But please get that list of who doesn't have the AWS accounts as yet, and then we'll arrange some alternate for them, and then